Welcome to Star Watch Now, your front row seat to all the hottest gossip, drama, and breaking news from the world of entertainment. If it's trending, shocking, or star-studded, we're covering it. Stay tuned. You won't want to miss what's coming next. 7 minutes. That's all it took for millions to go from curious fans to deeply moved witnesses. Behind the glitter of fame, two men, Xiao Zhan and Wang Yibo, shared a moment so honest, so personal, that it left an entire nation holding its breath. What happened in that room? And why are people still talking about it around the world? It began like any other media event, scheduled, rehearsed, and framed under the polished lights of expectation. Fans had gathered, reporters waited with questions, and the stage was set for Xiao Zhan and Wang Yibo to once again present themselves as the familiar, composed duo the public adored. Yet beneath the surface, something unspoken lingered in the air. A quiet tension, a depth that no script could capture. Xiao Zhan, typically poised with words, entered with his signature calm but carried an unusual stillness in his eyes. He smiled, nodded, answered routine questions, but his gaze often drifted. Not to the audience, not even to the cameras, but toward Wang Yibo. The two had stood side by side countless times before, but this moment felt different. There was weight to it, a kind of emotional current that defied explanation. Then came a moment of silence, small, easily missed by most. Xiao Zhan adjusted the microphone, looked out into the crowd, then turned slightly, just enough to face Yibo. There was no dramatic music, no theatrics, just a pause, a breath, and the quiet decision to abandon the safety of scripted lines. "I'd like to say something that wasn't planned," he began. The room hushed. No one interrupted. And in that fragile stillness, Xiao Zhan chose to open a door most public figures keep locked tightly shut. What followed wasn't scandal, wasn't gossip. It was something far rarer. A moment of unfiltered sincerity. He spoke not of accolades or friendship, but of vulnerability, family, and the unseen support that anchors people in the shadows. Specifically, he spoke of Yibo's mother. "There were days," he said, his voice steady but laced with quiet emotion, "when things felt too heavy for both of us. But I remember how Yibo would always draw strength from one voice, the voice of his mother. She grounded him, and in many ways, she helped ground me too." The room seemed to exhale all at once. It wasn't the kind of statement anyone had expected. In a world so often consumed by image, here was a man choosing something infinitely braver, truth. What moved people wasn't just the content of what was said, but how it was said, with care, with reverence, and with a kind of emotional intelligence rarely seen on public stages. Wang Yibo, typically reserved and unreadable, lowered his gaze. The composure slipped for just a second. His eyes glistened, a breath caught in his throat. This wasn't a performance. It was remembrance. It was gratitude. It was a glimpse into a private world made public not for spectacle, but for meaning. In just a few short minutes, the tone of the event shifted entirely. What began as another media appearance transformed into something much more human. In that unexpected shift, both men reminded us of something quietly profound. Behind even the brightest stars are moments of darkness, lit by the love we rarely see, but always feel. As Xiao Zhan continued speaking, the room seemed suspended in time. His words, gentle yet unwavering, began to peel back the carefully constructed layers of fame and reveal something far more intimate. He wasn't just recounting memories or offering praise. He was unburdening something that had weighed on him for a long time. This wasn't a tribute made for applause. It was a confession born from gratitude, from a place too deep to be scripted. He turned once more to Wang Yibo, not with the performative camaraderie fans often saw, but with a gaze filled with quiet respect and something more difficult to describe. It was admiration, yes, but also reverence and love. Not romantic, but human, raw, and deeply personal. "I've never said this before," Xiao Zhan admitted, his voice slowing. "But during one of my most difficult times, it wasn't just Yibo who reminded me to keep going. It was his mother." He paused, not for effect, but because emotion caught up with him. The audience, fully silent, leaned in, though no one dared to move. Even the flashing of camera shutters had stopped. She called me. I don't know how she got my number, but she reached out. Not as a fan, not as someone involved in the industry, but as a mother who understood what it meant to watch someone you care about suffer silently. There was no trace of performance in Xiao Zhan's words. Only sincerity. Only the kind of truth that demands to be spoken when the heart can no longer keep it inside. She didn't offer advice, he continued. She offered presence. Her words didn't tell me what to do. They reminded me that I wasn't alone. At that moment, Wang Yibo looked up. His face had softened in a way rarely seen in public. For someone often known for his cool detachment, the emotion that flickered in his eyes was undeniable. It was recognition, not just of Xiao Zhan's words, but of the truth behind them. What Xiao Zhan had shared wasn't just a moment from the past. It was a testament to a bond formed not through collaboration or fame, but through shared vulnerability, through support exchanged in the quiet hours, away from lights and lenses, through kindness passed down from mother to son and extended to someone who needed it most. In telling this story, Xiao Zhan was doing more than acknowledging a gesture. He was elevating the often invisible role of family, the strength that operates behind the curtain, the silent prayers, the unseen encouragement, the people who hold us up when we can't stand on our own. His confession wasn't shocking. It wasn't controversial. It was brave, because in a world that values success and spectacle, he chose to speak about the soul. And in doing so, he reminded everyone watching that behind every person admired on stage, there are countless moments of love and grace that made them who they are. What most people saw that night was a press conference, a formal gathering with flashing lights, elegant attire, and carefully prepared talking points. But beneath the surface, something profoundly human was unfolding. For those who looked closely, who truly listened, there were layers of emotion woven through every pause, every glance, every tremble in their voices that told a story far more powerful than any headline ever could. Wang Yibo, often admired for his poise and control, wasn't just moved, he was shaken. There was a quiet unraveling in him, but not the kind that signals weakness. It was the rare, sacred kind that only happens when someone feels deeply seen. When Xiao Zhan spoke of his mother, when he honored her strength and quiet love, Yibo didn't just hear it, he felt it. It was as though something long protected inside him had finally been touched. There was no grand performance, no theatrics, just two men, one speaking with deliberate, careful vulnerability, the other silently absorbing the weight of being loved and understood in front of the world. Their fame didn't matter in that moment. What mattered was the shared history, the silent support, the years of walking through fire together without asking for applause. And yet, what the cameras couldn't fully capture were the internal shifts, those invisible but irreversible changes that happen when truth meets compassion. Xiao Zhan wasn't just thanking a mother for her son. He was acknowledging the foundation of who Wang Yibo had become. He was paying tribute to a legacy of quiet courage, passed from one generation to the next, and now living in Yibo's every action, every moment of restraint, every unspoken fear. The emotional gravity of the moment wasn't just about what was said, but what was finally felt. It was the recognition that behind all the fame and flawless appearances lies a lifetime of moments shaped by love, pressure, mistakes, and redemption. It was a reminder that strength isn't about always holding it together. It's about knowing when to let it fall apart and who you allow to witness it. When Wang Yibo's tears fell, they weren't just a release. They were a response. To his friend's honesty, to his mother's unwavering faith, to the countless nights he carried burdens alone and suddenly realized he never had to. And the audience, too, seemed to feel that. In their silence, in the collective stillness of the room, they were witnessing something rarely shown. Emotional truth in real time. This wasn't a story about idols anymore. It wasn't about who they were on camera. It was about who they had been for each other when no one was watching. About love that isn't romantic but just as powerful. About family that's not always blood, but sometimes chosen in the darkest hour. It was, in the end, A moment that didn't ask to be understood but simply felt. And that, perhaps, is what made it unforgettable. The impact? Instant. Within an hour, the hashtags #Xiao Zhan tribute and #Yibo tears were trending in over 10 countries. From Tokyo to Toronto, from Bangkok to Berlin, fans were deeply moved, not just by the event, but by the emotional truth behind it. I watched this with my mother. One user from France wrote, "And we cried together. I finally understood why this bond matters." In Thailand, thousands joined a live stream prayer in honor of silent mothers everywhere. In the Philippines and Indonesia, fan groups began charitable acts under the name Strength in Silence. This wasn't just celebrity news anymore. It was a movement. Forget rumors. Forget labels. This moment redefined celebrity connection, not as entertainment but as emotional resonance. Xiao Zhan didn't just thank a mother. He reminded all of us that behind every success is someone quietly holding us up. And in that, we saw ourselves. If this moment touched your heart, even just a little, speech balloon, drop a comment below. Who is your silent supporter? Orange heart like if you believe in emotional honesty. Bell subscribe if you want more stories that go beyond the screen. Stories that reveal the human behind the fame. Thank you for watching. This is your channel name where stories aren't just told, they're felt. See you in the next video.